And Helen's just bringing Billy Bowl. Hey, good morning. Welcome to Sports Talk. I'm your host, Chris Raynor. Friday, June the 6th. Got Steve Goodson as our co-host today. Thank you, Steve, for being with us.
Absolutely. Glad to be here.
We have a special guest calling in today, Curtis Strange, golfing legend Curtis Strange. How about that?
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, he's a good ambassador for the game.
I remember watching him play golf
Yep.
many a Saturday and Sunday.
He always seemed to carry himself well. He didn't have a lot of tantrums and hearing the F-bomb dropped on camera. If he did, I didn't hear it. You know what I'm saying? He just seemed to be a good ambassador for the game. Wouldn't you say so?
I would say.
A lot like Steve Goodson is an ambassador for our community.
Well, I'm retired from that, but I
You're
can
still
still
an
carry it.
ambassador.
But I can still carry it on.
Yeah, you're still an ambassador. We do want to thank, before Curtis calls in, we do want to thank our sponsors that make Sports Talk what it is today. National Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram, the Jacksonville Ospreys, CNS Paint, Ron Choate and Victor Case, Golden Corral, Mr. Billy Sewell, Rock Creek Golf and Country Club, Jones Onzo EMC, your Touchstone Energy Cooperative, Jones LP Gas, located in Verona. You know it's Friday, so go get you cylinder filled, Steve, for $11 if you want to today. Southern Touch Painting, Fountain Management, Miss Sandra Fountain, Onzo County Motor Company, Barnes Diamond Gallery, Lane Associates Family Dentistry, Doctors Tommy and Kim Morgan, Bartley Insurance Services, Bill Mercer, and of course Humphrey Heating and Air Conditioning. I want to thank Helen's Kitchen and Billy Grissett for those delicious Billy Bowls he'll be delivering here shortly. Thank you for feeding our Sports Talk show and guests. Our hurricane watch is done. The hurricane, it's more of a tropical depression now. Ironically enough, we had that little drizzle rain yesterday off the coast. That was powered by Downey's Heating and Air Conditioning. Jason Humphrey, thank you for doing that long hurricane season, man. The hurricane hockey season runs way longer than the hurricane season, which we're thankful for that. Our race report is powered by Onzo County Motor Company, Ben Beasley and the gang. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel at WSME Radio to watch us live and view tons of previews, shows, and podcasts. Make sure you watch us live on Facebook. Wave to the Facebook and YouTube world, Steve. You're a celebrity. Make sure you wave. Facebook at Freedom 97.1 WSME. You can listen online and live at our website at WSME971.com. Archived audio podcast there. All kinds of different platforms to listen on. Steve, about time to get the podcast up and running again, isn't it?
Yeah, we're going to gear back up, I think, in the fall. Maybe change the name of the. I know 2 Men and Six Pack's a cool name, but we may change it. It's more from 2 Men to Six Pack to 5 Men in a Keg, or I don't know, 5 Men
in a Keg. I do like that,
or something like that.
4 Men and a Princess.
Well, we're going to do something. Yeah. We focus on football, so we might get throw some kind of name and title and rebranding with something with football in
That's
there.
true. Football season gives you tons to talk about, don't it?
Yeah.
And the other seasons do too, especially March Madness. Now this time of year is your favorite time of year. You got baseball and NASCAR.
I'm just sitting there just watching baseball game after baseball game.
We have our caller calling in, so okay. Let's switch over to. Good morning, caller. How are you today, Curtis?
Good. How are you?
Welcome to Sports Talk. We love having you talk with us today about some things going on in the community, your legendary golf career, and all that good stuff. How about that?
Anything you want. I'm good to go.
Well, tell us how it got started, man. How'd you get into the golfing world?
Well, my dad was a PGA professional, and so I had access. It's pretty simple. I was still the pro son, so I had to behave and, yes, sir, no, sir, the whole thing. But and just because I had access didn't mean I had to enjoy it or fall in love with it, which I did. But, it was access, my brother and I, and we took it and ran with it, or I did anyway.
Well, a lot of times you'll hear that kids are gym rats and stay in the gym. You were a country club rat, weren't you?
Well, no, I was really kind of a gym rat, too.
Really?
I played basketball all through high school and ran track and, Little League baseball growing up, but, quit Little League baseball for golf at 12 years old and made my big decision in life at 12 years old. How about that?
Yeah, that's pretty early on.
Curtis, let me ask you a question. So this is Steve Goodson. I'm co-hosting today with Chris. So my father-in-law was a country club professional. He grew up. He was a professional in that industry at a country club in Wilkes County in Wilkesboro, North Carolina, which I know you went to school at Wake Forest, so
Yeah.
just about an hour west of there.
Yeah.
Back in the day when your dad was playing, so I had many conversations with my father-in-law before he passed away. But
Yeah.
and he said that back then. You could actually make more money being a professional at a being a golf pro at a country club than you could on the PGA Tour. Obviously, the money back then wasn't like what it is now. Is that an accurate statement?
Oh, I don't think so. I mean, you think about it. We never knew what, it's kind of funny. Dad would come home on Friday night and Sunday night, and he'd put the cash bag on the bed, and we count the money. He and I would count the money on what we made. Because think about it. There was no credit cards. Nobody ever wrote a check. It was all cash. And it was cash in and out of I was punching the cash register when I was 12 years old.
Nice.
So, and running, carts and caddying and playing and hanging all day long at the golf course. But the point is, I don't think we were I don't think we were rolling in cash back then.
Yeah.
It was the whole industry was different. The club pro most time owned the carts and owned the golf shop.
That's what he told me. He owned the golf carts. He sold beer behind the golf counter out of coolers and the range balls and and all that stuff. So,
but think about it. Well, how much money could you make back then? I mean, Coca-Colas were 15 cents. And,
Yeah.
Good point.
Okay, so you made a nickel there. I don't
Yeah.
know.
That's a good point.
I don't think a lot of people realize the hours a PGA pro puts in too. When you start,
it's a long
a
the
long
toughest
day.
job in America, or the longest job, is the assistant pro.
Yeah.
But back in the day, I'd go to the golf course with Dad at 7:30 in the morning, come home at 8:30 at night. Be there all day long, because as long as the light was going, as long as there was light out, those golf carts were going around, and you were making a couple bucks. So.
And you were and your dad was at the disposal of those members when those members wanted to play golf. Whether I know you guys tried to close on Thanksgiving and Christmas and stuff like that, but
Christmas Day was the only day we closed.
Yeah, you were at.
But, he was an employee.
Yeah, that's
he was an
right.
employee of the club, and back then, and unfortunately, in some areas of the world today, the club pro kind of comes in the back door. It was back in the day. Now, in Dad's case at this club, being a good player and a likable guy, he was not quite like that. But club pros were looked down on by the members, because the members would, were the high society, big business people, and the club pro was the club pro.
Yeah,
and
that's a great man. Yeah, that's a great point. That's a great point. And he was looked at as
and every situation was a little different, but it was still, they were the employees of the club. Yeah.
Yeah, great. That's great.
I'm picturing Judge Smales coming in and the way he would talk down his nose to the crowd on Caddyshack. With that little voice. Yeah. That was the old country club days. You're exactly right. Now there's one way too where golf course professionals and golf course people are like farmers. I mean, they're both dependent on the weather and both from sun up to sundown. You can't play at night.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, absolutely.
And the weather can be your best greenskeeper.
Now, shut their doors like at 6 o'clock. You got to be out of here at 6 o'clock. I actually kind of like that, because now the head pro has a life.
Yeah,
good point.
And the people at the club have a life. Well, not the restaurant, but the people in the golf industry at the club have a life. Because they're there when the sun comes up. They're there, and anyway. They've changed a lot.
Yeah. Well, so you transitioned, and you actually, I mentioned Wilkes County, so you end up coming down from Virginia to Wake Forest. Had a real distinguished career. Won the 74 individual title, and you were on 2 consecutive NCAA titles with Jay Haas and Bob Byman. Just great times in college. That was good times, wasn't it? Playing golf and hanging with your buddies and doing things that you did in college, right?
Well, we had to study a little bit too. That was the
back then they did.
That was the dark side of it.
Well, you had by far one of the best amateur careers ever. looking at some of the accomplishments, the amateur championships you won, the stuff you did in college. Man, just a great amateur career. And you were one of the earliest to go pro at that age, weren't you?
You know, it was a big decision if you left college early, because back in the day, the degree was all important, and so I was offered the scholarship to go to Wake, and Wake in the day was the best golf school in our area, meaning from damn near the whole East Coast. Mm-hmm. Think about it. When my mother's side of the family all went to UVA, and they wanted me to go there, but they didn't give golf scholarships at the time.
Wow!
And because a dad died when I was young, I needed a scholarship, and so Carolina, if they even gave scholarships at the time, I don't even know, but they weren't any golf schools. So it was Florida, a little bit of Georgia, and Wake Forest. And you went to Texas, Arizona, Oklahoma State. 6 or 7 really good golf schools that if you thought you could play, and who knows if you could play or not at the time, but that if you could play, the coaches will recruit you. And Wake Forest recruited me, and so so I ended up going down there, and there was no decision to be made. But it was close by. It was a 4-hour drive from Virginia Beach, and so there we go.
And that's why you had a lot of great PGA pros come from Wake Forest at that time, didn't you?
We had a good run there. We had an old coach that was, well, again, back up that those, if you thought you could play, or if the coach thought you could play, there was only, so many golf schools that you would go to because you wanted to develop. You wanted to go where the other good players were going. And we had a pretty good run of Carolina players. I'm from Virginia, but there was a good group. Lanny Watkins was from Virginia ahead of me 5 years, and he turned out to be a Hall of Famer. But
yep.
That we, just out of the state of North Carolina and South Carolina, we had great players, and Carolina being such a big, strong Carolina Association, Golf Association, they develop young players, and so they all went to Wake Forest. And so we had a good run from the 60s. Actually, Arnold Palmer started it back before then, but he wasn't from there. But from the 60s all the way through, the late 70s, coach recruited good players, took care of us, disciplined us. We were unlike other golf schools. Got to remember, golf being a non-revenue sport didn't get a lot of attention, but at these few schools it did, and that was the difference in say Wake Forest and I don't know, NC State at the time or some other schools.
Well, now you had you on a Ryder Cup winning team. That had to be an awesome thrill. Sport, presenting your country, representing your country. But let's talk about, we got the U.S. Open coming up next week. So let's talk a little U.S. Open stuff. There's only been 3 golfers in the history of the PGA to win back-to-back U.S. Opens. And do you know one of those guys?
he might know all 3 of them.
Actually, there's actually 5 of them now.
Really? I read wrong. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's Brooks Koepka did it a few years
right.
ago. I did. Hogan did. I'm drawing a blank.
Hogan was a little before your time.
1900, 1901, 1902. I'm drawing a blank. And but anyway, there's like 5 or so. But anyway, it was a good run, and it was it's not so much what I did winning back to back as what I've always said is what some others didn't do that you would expect to have done that. Would have been Nicklaus and Trevino and Palmer and Byron Nelson and Tom Watson, the truly greats of the game, and for some reason they didn't. I don't know.
Or Tiger during his dominant run. A lot of people would have thought Tiger would have done it, didn't.
Well, for sure. I mean, he was winning everything. So, just different courses, different environment, different grasses, different year removed,
different equipment, everything.
Yeah, but it's just, it's just. I was fortunate. I was in the right place at the right time.
Yeah. So you won 88 and 89, and you were the first one to go back to back since Hogan did it in 50 and 51. And so you're the first one. So I've got a question for you. So you mentioned being on a Ryder Cup winning team. You also were a Ryder Cup captain in, I think it was 2002. The team lost, but represented well. I think it was the closest loss in several years at that time. So what's ton of big thrills in golf that you've had. Big thrill, winning the U.S. Open, winning it back-to-back, Ryder Cup captain, Ryder Cup team, or the birth of your two sons, because you do have two sons, right?
Well, that's a no-brainer there, yeah.
And your wife's not listening. Your wife's not listening to this. So
you know, professionally, it was obviously the U.S. Open. So,
Yeah.
you know, that's what you dream about doing it when you're a boy growing up, and you know, the U.S. Open is our national championship. It's the biggest championship I can play in as an American. So it was special. Of course, you know, the birth of your sons and your wife and your family, your personal life is something, you know, altogether different. But professionally, you know, when you grow up on the golf course like I did at such a young age, and my dad played in 6 U.S. Opens, and he was, you know, a 5-time state open champion. So he was a good player, and to, you know, kind of following his footsteps and you know. I think there's a lot of kids that have talent, but do you fall in love with the game and enough to where you never feel like you have a job? You can't wait to get to the golf course every day, and it's your passion, it's your hobby, it's your career as well, and you just work at it. I mean, you got to put in the time and the effort, and you know, the guys are so good now, and they're so developed and physically and mentally, and they do more than we ever thought about doing, because all of those myths and wise tales of training and weightlifting, and you know, it's all been proved wrong. And they get into the mental side of it now, and they're better short game players, and they're just better all together because they're better trained, and there's more knowledge. And you know, Hogan said it best years ago. Somebody asked him, greatest quote ever, are the players today, which was yesterday for me, but are the players in the 60s and 70s better than you were, Mr. Hogan? And he thought for a moment, and he says, yes, because if they weren't, then I would not have contributed anything. And I love that, because it's the same in every sport. Of course, I think Michael Jordan will be in all time the greatest basketball player of all time. But if a lot of the players weren't better overall in the NBA, then he wouldn't have contributed anything. He would not have motivated anybody. He would not have brought young kids to the game. And much like in golf, you know, Tiger Woods brought a lot of kids to the game because he was so young. Jack Nicklaus brought a lot of kids to the game when he was playing so well. But in today's social media of 24/7 sports, 24/7 golf, you know, Tiger Woods was something incredibly special. And he hit all corners. He brought so many underprivileged minorities to the game. The game has grown because of him. He contributed a great deal and continues to contribute.
Well, we got Curtis Strange, of course, here with us. Legendary golfer from Virginia area, but has found a home here in North Carolina. You like the North Carolina digs, don't you, Curtis?
Well, I do. You know, my kids grew up in Williamsburg, Virginia. I'm a Virginia Beach kid, and you know, we kids were gone to school. One went to NC State, and the other went to High Point. And so Sarah and I moved down here 21 years ago, and fishing's good out here on the coast. And Sarah's from this area, so why not? We did. We love it, and we enjoy it. And I fish a lot, and I don't play hardly any golf anymore, but it's nice. People are wonderful. We have you know, a lot of dear friends here, and we'll be here for a long time.
Just got to dodge a little coastal hurricane every now and then, but other than that, everything's hunky-dory, isn't it?
Hey, we're good with them. You know, the tornadoes scare me. The hurricanes, we have hurricanes.
Well, that's the bad thing about coastal North Carolina. You can get a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
We can get a blizzard once every 20 years or so.
Yeah, but you know, I'd rather have this than have California fires coming down my neck. So
absolutely,
there's a lot of things in California I don't want.
Yeah, a lot of things going on there. So you mentioned, and I'm not trying to put you in a sling here, but you mentioned the players of yesterday and the players of today. So who do you watch? Who are you watching today? I'm assuming you still, even though you're not playing golf, are you watching golf a little bit? Who just not the, well, two questions. Who's your favorite player playing today, and then who is the best player playing today? It could be the same person, could be different people.
Yeah. You know, I do watch when I'm going through the house. I do watch, especially on Sunday afternoon, because I'm a fan. It was my life. It still is my life, although I don't play. competitively anymore, and I enjoy it. I love it. I still think about the golf swing damn near every day, and what these guys are going through, and because I lived it for 30 years on tour, but I can't take my eyes off Scotty Scheffler. I marvel at his consistency, his control, mentally and physically, the way he goes about it, and he's already a great player and will continue to get better if he continues that drive. That's the one thing we can't judge in a young player. The drive and determination, the heart, we can't measure that. We certainly saw that in Tiger because of his longevity and the tournament wins and so on. But Scotty is tremendous. I like all the young players. They're so developed at a young age. They come out so confident and talking 100 miles an hour, and they can back it up. So good for them. We came out and were told to keep our mouths shut and our eyes and ears open.
Yeah.
the old veteran adage. But and that was okay too. But Scotty's the best player. Rory is incredibly gifted. He's frustrating to watch just because of his ups and downs, but incredibly gifted. But Scotty Scheffler is the guy. Scotty Scheffler, at the end of the day, and give him 15, 18 more years, is going to have a record that stands with the greatest of the games. And then you look at other guys. I mean, there's a couple good players who have gone over to that LIV tour, and so be it. But their legacy is gone. Their careers are gone to be measured up against the Hogans and Nelsons and Sneads and Nicklases and Tiger Woods and all the rest. They chose that, but I think in the long run they're going to be very, very disappointed in themselves. But be that as it may, you got guys like Morikawa and Xander Schauffele and the rest. They're all incredibly talented.
Well, every weekend you're not exactly watching on TV. You have a lot of weekends where you're there at the course, providing commentary, insight for the different networks. All the things you do with that. I've kind of heard the undertone before about your thoughts on the LIV and the PGA. Obviously, you're not an LIV fan.
Yeah, and I was going to chime in. I think you indirectly answered the question with the last statement. But yeah, I'd like to get your take on that.
Well, it is what it is. There was a group of people that came along with deep pockets and started a little tour and bought these players away. And you say, well, hey, nobody's for sale leaving the PGA Tour. This is the biggest and the best in the world. This is where all the great players play. And at the end of the day, if you're good enough, you like to put forth a record that can be maybe compared to somebody of yesterday, not somebody in your class. And they chose for hundreds of millions of dollars with some of them. So they had a price tag and they left. And I don't have a real problem with LIV other than they're very disruptive in the way they've gone about it. The problem I have is I feel that the players will be disappointed in themselves years down the road. People that went over there for the money, I don't blame them one bit.
Yeah.
If somebody's going to offer me $200 million, you're going to think about it. But I think, when you're in the prime of your career, which DeChambeau and Brooks Koepka and one or two others were, the money's so big, how do you say no? But at the end of the day, I think they all have buyer's remorse. I think they all want to be back over here, honest to God, but they have a contract. So it's a tough situation for them, but I hate that the golf is in a disruptive state right now. We don't need the Saudi money. And so hopefully we get through this. Golf is still growing, but the PGA Tour is in a disruptive state. And I hate it for us because it's my organization. But, the players, the money's gotten so big, and what changes players? What changes everything in a player is money. And so They're playing for an incredible amount of money now. I think personally they think they're worth more than they really are. When you and I mean that in a good way, informative, is that they think they rival football, baseball, basketball. They're small potatoes compared to those sports. Everybody's small potatoes compared to the NFL.
Yep.
But when you rival yourself with these sports that TV ratings are triple what you get, quadruple what you get. Sponsorship is much more, although we have great sponsorship, but the numbers are different. So that dictates on how much money you can actually play for without going into a jeopardizing state financially with your tour. So that's the reality of it.
So just one follow up to that, and then talking about Scotty and Roy, do you think, except for obviously the majors, when you do have Koepka and DeChambeau and some of the other live players coming in, do you think what Scotty and Roy are doing week in and week out has become diluted any because of some of those players playing over on the live? Personally, I don't think it has, but when you've got two different leagues now, and week in and week out, some of the best players are playing elsewhere.
I get your question.
Yeah.
And it's a great question, and it's one that's quietly discussed in the corners, not by professionals, but the golf enthusiasts around the country.
Yeah.
When you don't have Brooks and DeChambeau, who are the two real players now. DJ was for a time, and a couple of young kids. But when you talk about not having those two players in the field on a day-to-day basis, the casual viewer only really watches the majors. And they're playing in the major championships. So you have everybody there. Next week at the U.S. Open, everybody will be there from LIV that's qualified and from the PGA Tour and around the world. And that's really, at the end of the day, what matters to most casual viewers and golfers around the country. So I don't know. It's when Tiger got hurt 2 or 3 or 4 times and other players won big tournaments or tour events, the same thing was said a little bit, but you got to move on from that.
Yeah,
if I win the U.S. Open, it took next week and Brooks Koepka and say somebody big time is injured, nobody's going to say anything about it.
That's a great point, Curtis. Great point.
It's a valid point that think about Scotty Scheffler was out the first 3 months of this year because he cut his hand on a glass making pasta or something, but he was out because he cut his hand deeply. Yeah. And did everybody say, well, Rory got a free pass? Well, kind of he did, because he wasn't playing against the number 1 player in the world. So, but we don't look at that stuff too much. Rory's still a hell of a talent, can beat Scotty anytime he wants, although Scotty is number 1 in the world.
Well, one more thing on the LIV thing, and then we'll leave it. Being a sports guy, I gave it a chance. I tried. I tuned in on a Saturday. I found it stuck on the CW somewhere, and I started watching. And I'm like, man, these out here in shorts, and it just didn't have the look. And then I see this long thing they have down the left side. It looks like a NASCAR leaderboard with different colors and teams, and it turned me off right to start with.
You know what? I don't give a shit about it either. Okay. That's the way I look at it. It's like a member guest out there. They're paying. They say they make these comments. We're putting on a show and we have people want to come over. No, people don't want to come over here. They're coming over because you're paying them $50 or $100 million. Don't say those things. And it's a crock. I mean, the whole thing is a. I take a member guest to the club more seriously than I do this. But the point, you got loud music. You got 54 holes, no cut. You got shotgun starts. You got guys wearing shorts. I mean, it's
a circus.
laughable.
But doesn't that mimic kind of like today's generation, though, the attention span of today's generation.
Sort of.
And
I
kind
don't
of,
think golf. No.
Yeah.
I don't think.
But
some
even
of the young
today's
golfers
generation isn't
plan
watching.
on a weekend. Yes, maybe, but they're not watching this either.
Yeah,
And all you got to do is look at the TV ratings.
Yeah.
I mean, they're
Terrible.
horrendous.
Yeah, they're horrible.
The rerun "Leave It to Beaver" at 3 a.m. is outranked. It's out.
Well, in North Carolina, it's the Andy Griffith Show.
Yeah, Andy Griffith Show in North
Yeah,
Carolina.
bad example.
Well, thank you for your point on that. Now, like you said, there's a lot of things that are way more important than that. You got one coming up. We want to talk a little bit about the local hospice tournament coming up. It's a Super Bowl tournament there at the Morehead City Country Club. You know a little bit about that. Tell us a little information on. I think it's June 26th, correct?
Yeah, it is. It's like the 10th year we've had this little golf tournament to raise money for it. And a little background: years ago, we started to have a little fishing tournament to raise some money for future hospice house, and we raised enough money to get some ideas going. And my wife took it on. She'd never done anything like this in her life, and she raised the $5 million. She built the hospice house with a lot of people's help, and next thing you know, it was up and running. It's 12 or 13 years in, and it's given a lot of peace and at the end of life for a lot of families. And it's a wonderful organization and facility. The golf tournament is one of the fundraisers we have, and it's about 13 years old. And if you want to have more information, just call over there in Newport. But it's a wonderful thing that my wife Sarah was involved in, and it serves a great need that was needed in this area.
And I'll post the information for people wanting to get involved. I think they may be full by now. If they're not, they're close. So even if you can't get a team in it, if you're a business and want to sponsor holes, anything like that to raise money for this worthy cause, we'll make sure we get that information out there for them. We appreciate you being an ambassador for golf and for promoting that tournament too.
That would be great. Thank you very much.
Let me ask you, and not
lot.
to get too personal, is this a project of your wife's of passion? Any life events that may have occurred, or is this just something that you guys moved to the area? She saw a need in the community and stepped up and took it on.
Well, there was one particular woman that was from UNC Hospitals, and she came and said, brought the idea to the hospital. They didn't want to do anything, so there was a group of individuals that took it on. And Sarah was the chairman of the little board we put on. We got some of the businessmen in the area, and they started putting ideas together and putting a game plan together and then raising money.
That's awesome.
We found some land right there on 70 coming into Morehead, and we found some wonderful, generous people to help out, and next thing you know, we opened the doors, and it was an exciting time for all of us.
Well, Curtis, you got a lot going on next week. You got the U.S. Open. Are you doing any coverage for that or going to the tournament?
No, I'm going up for the weekend. Here we have the Big Rock Blue
Right, exactly. That's the other one I was talking about.
That is the major for next week in this part of the world. Let me tell you.
Oh yeah, and I knew you had some responsibilities with that. Are you going to be are you fishing any, or just going to kind of promote some of the tournament?
Here all week. I'm a part of the Big Rock, so I'm around all week, and then I'll leave toward the end of the week to go to the U.S. Open for a couple of days. But it's a great week for everybody. It's exciting. It's the biggest week of the year down here on the coast. Last year we had over 300 boats fish it, and more importantly than anything else, everybody had a great time, great parties, great fishing. But at the end of the day, we were able to give over $1.7 million to charity last year, and that brings our total to right at $12 million, I believe, for the local community, and that is something to really speak about. What this tournament does, the philanthropic idea of the board, and the kids and the women and everybody who needs a little help along the way has been helped in this area. Some of the high schools, Boys and Girls Club, and many, many others, the hospital, many other charitable organizations have benefited from our success. But it's not so much our success at Big Rock. It's the generous fishing, philanthropic, ideas of the fishermen, of the owners of the boats, the sponsors. It takes a whole village to do this, and everybody's really stepped up over the years.
I love the way Curtis threw that SAT word in there, philanthropic. That's you hear about philanthropy, but that's awesome.
That's a Wake Forest.
That's a
term.
Wake Forest graduate right there, buddy.
Absolutely.
Well, let's just I didn't say I graduated. Okay, let's back
You
up.
attended long enough to pick up some good traits. Let's put it that way. In the fishing tournament, do you ever get to meet any have you met Jordan at the tournament before?
I see them all. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I see them all.
He's got a decent. He's got a decent little boat, don't he?
He's got one of the finest boats, and you know what? Why not? But the boat's entered. Last year he didn't come up here. The boat fished it, the Big Rock, but he didn't come last year, and hopefully he comes this year. We've interviewed him on Big Rock TV a couple of times, and he's into his fishing now. He really enjoys it.
That's awesome.
But he's still a busy guy. I
Yeah.
mean,
He's got a NASCAR team. He's got some
he's got
basketball
everything.
interests.
He's got everything. So, he's a good man, right from Wilmington, right down the road. I think that's a big part of it. And,
Oh, yeah.
You don't realize how big and popular he is until you're around him. He's a good man. He loves his golf. We've known each other for a long time, but he loves his golf, but he's getting into this fishing. And he's just a good man. He's the best of all time. And what's interesting is, I'm such a huge fan, is you never hear him say, I'm the best, or I think I was the best, or, he never goes there at all. He goes to the, I never played against those guys, so how can I compare myself against them versus there's a guy out there now that says he's the best all the time. Well, you never heard Jack Nicklaus say he was the best. You never heard Tiger Woods say he was the best. When you are the best, you don't have to say it. They already know it.
Well, most times, if you're telling people you're the best, sometimes you may flop.
If you're telling somebody you're the best, it means you're trying to get the message out because you might not be.
I agree.
Let's just leave it at that.
Well, while we're on the subject of greatest of all time, in golf, you played with both of them. Do you have an opinion on that, or do you rather not say? You know the two I'm talking about.
I have an opinion. I don't think you can. Tiger and Jack Nicklaus. How can you compare the two? You can have the you can sit at the bar with a beer and have that discussion all you want, but they played with different equipment. They played in different times. They played on different golf courses. Meaning the equipment has made the golf courses different.
Right.
The technology is so much far advanced than when we played. Physically, Jack Nicklaus was a hell of an athlete. What makes a good player? It's pretty cool. You got to be a hell of an athlete. You got to have great hand-eye coordination. So there you go. And you just can't compare.
Yeah.
Other sports they play with the same balls. They play on the sport. The goal is the same height. All of the above is the same. The tennis court's the same. Not in golf. And so Tiger, it was the best by far of his era. Jack Nicklaus was the best of his era by far. And the records prove that. There's no debate at all on who was the best in Tiger's time. There was no debate on who was the best in Jack's time. Before Jack, it was Hogan and Snead and Nelson. That's the big debate. Those three were the same age back in the 40s and 50s. But you just can't do it. And, I have my bias, but then my bias, when I start talking it out to myself, gets changed every day.
You argue with yourself about it.
I saw Tiger Woods hit shots that Jack Nicklaus could never hit. I saw Jack Nicklaus do things that Tiger Woods couldn't do back in the day with that old equipment.
Well, I think you made a good point earlier on in the conversation that we had. One thing that just besides the technology, just this taboo of granted, Jack was a great athlete. Arnold Palmer, Snead, Hogan,
Yeah.
you were great athletes, but you guys never lifted weights. You guys never did. That was a taboo thing that I guess maybe because you thought the bigger you guys got or the bulkier, not necessarily stronger, you would lose that flexibility. You might lose, because that was important. And it seemed, when Tiger rolled in.
Exactly. I'm going to interrupt you. I'm sorry, but swimming was supposed to be bad for you.
Yeah.
Swimming, I think, is incredibly good for you because it keeps your elasticity there. I mean, flexibility is something you never lose, and you do. But at the same time, they didn't compete against each other.
Yeah.
And when you think about it, if Tiger and Jack could have played at the same time, they would have pushed each other even more. They would have both been greater because the two greats would have played against each other. And so all these physical and mental things that you just it's impossible to do. And let's just say they were both the two best of all time. Tiger at one time looked like he was going to be far and away the greatest of all time because of his record. He was going to win far more majors than Jack, far more tournaments than Sam Snead, far more than anybody at any time in this game. But it didn't happen because of injury, personal issues, the whole thing. And that's true with any great athlete in any sport. Can you stay injury-free? Can you stay in love with the game? Can you keep your personal life free and clear of chaos? And that's tough for some of these guys. And so they're both incredibly good.
I love your answer. I think it's a great answer.
Well, Curtis, we've had our station owner, Ashley Moseley, step in with us. He has a quick question for you.
Hey, Curtis, how you doing, buddy?
I'm good.
My mother was from the little town of Wake Forest before it went to Winston-Salem. And I got a couple of names I'm going to drop out to you. Does Chandler Harper ring a bell with you?
Oh, my gosh, yeah. My dad died when I was 14, and Chandler, Mr. Harper, was the one that started to, help me with my game and continue to, teach me and keep me on the right track physically with my game from 15 on. And, I played with him. I went to see him once or twice a year and for a long, long time. And he was a great man. He was so good for me. The basic fundamentals of the game, and he was a great champion. And what he brought to me more than anybody else, he brought credibility. He was a PGA champion. He won 8 or 9 times on tour. He was a great player. So he was a dear friend for a long time.
How about Al Goodrich?
Oh, I don't know.
He used to be
rings a bell.
Carolina section president one time, a long time ago.
There were so many good, administrators in golf. Golf is so big in the Carolinas, so big. And I say probably bigger than Virginia. It was just to have a great organization, a lot of great junior programs over the years, a lot of great amateurs come out of here from way back. So, and it developed a lot of young, good players.
And finally, I went to high school. He was a couple of years behind me with a guy that played on the tour for a while. I'm sure you probably know him, Clarence Rose.
Oh, Clarence. Oh, yeah. Old Goldsboro man.
Popcorn, they call him.
Yes, he was. He was a nice player. I think he won a couple of times on tour.
He did. He won the international and a playoff against Brad Faxon.
There we go.
Yeah, a while back, and I think he won a team tournament with a lady in Florida.
Oh, the mixed team. Yeah.
Yeah.
When I think about him, I think about a guy coming up with a big old smile on his face. He was a good man and still around, still in Goldsboro. I haven't seen him in years, but I always had fun around him.
Yeah, nice guy.
Well, Curtis,
Yes,
we really thank you for joining us today, helping promote that tournament that's near and dear to your wife's heart and your heart. They're for the hospice care there in Morehead City. We're going to get that information up on our website. We've talked about it already on the air a couple times, and we'll make sure if there's any more things they can do, sponsorships or whatever we can get out of it. We'll do our best to help them with it.
Well, I appreciate it very much. That would be very kind. And you're not only helping the house, but you're helping a lot of families that need places like this to end of life with dignity. That's what it is.
And this station's all about, the owners have always been all about community support and things in the community. It's your local station that people still listen to. You know, it's not one of those big corporate stations where everything's canned and brought in. It's still live and local, and man, we love it here. And we appreciate you being on the show. Enjoy your upcoming week with the U.S. Open, the Big Rock coming up, and we look forward to possibly getting with you and doing a sit-down interview sometime.
Well, thank you, guys. Enjoy the talk, and thanks for all your help.
All right.
Thanks, Curtis.
Enjoy your week. Take care,
All
Curtis.
right, man. Thanks.
All right, bye. Hey, welcome back to Sports Talk. I'm your host, Chris Raynor. Got co-host Ashley Moseley with us today. Hey, Ashley.
Hey, how you doing?
Hey. Great interview there with Curtis Strange. Really enjoyed that. I'm looking forward to getting him back on the show. I'm in the studio or going to Moorhead, maybe doing a live interview there somewhere in the community. Really a great ambassador for the game of golf. Have co-host Steve Goodson had to step out a minute. He'll be right back. Good time to talk about our racing report because Steve's not a NASCAR fan. Steve's not big on NASCAR or baseball, which is weird. He's a big sports guy, but summertime he's ready for football. NASCAR boys, the last 2 weeks have been on Prime Video where you got to go through 29 steps. I've got Prime. I just didn't watch the race just because I guess I'm doing a silent protest. But they're going to be on Prime again this weekend at Michigan International Speedway. This past week, they were at Nashville, and Ryan Blaney won in a Ford. Carson Hocevar won in a Chevrolet, or was second in a Chevrolet. Denny Hamlin was third in a Toyota. Joey Logano was fourth in a Ford, and William Byron was fifth in a Chevrolet. So I'm guessing with William Byron's fifth place finish, he still leads the points, and he does. So you got William Byron first, Kyle Larson second, Christopher Bell third, Denny Hamlin fourth, and Chase Elliott fifth in the point standings. Ryan Blaney moved up several positions, gained points from last week with his win there at Nashville Speedway. NASCAR's got a big comeback going on. There are a lot more people getting back involved in NASCAR. There's a lot more people at Charlotte when they had it a week before. But unfortunately, the Prime platform is not my favorite. Are you a big streamer, or you just like stuff on your cable? Or do you stream all the time, Ashley?
I don't look at anything, to be quite honest with you.
You don't watch no TV?
A little bit. I'm on cable right now, but I'm getting ready to make some changes, I believe.
Yeah,
I'm not
cable's gotten expensive, hasn't it?
I ain't too happy with the cable folks.
But the bad thing is, once you start streaming, you don't just have to have one. You have to have like 4 or 5 different streaming services to get everything, and it just gets just as pricey as cable. So I don't know. I don't know what the answer is.
You're right. I guess.
But the NASCAR boys will be in Michigan this week. Great track. Michigan's one of those big tracks where they can let her fly. They don't even have restrictor plates there, so they get just about as fast as Michigan and Atlanta as they did at Daytona Daytona and Talladega. With restrictor
and you
plates.
said there was something coming up over in Carter County.
Carter Speedway. They got races every weekend just about. They got a big monster truck thing coming up. We need to go to that joker. You ever been to a monster truck show before? Woo. Well, the only thing you hope is that thing don't get out in the crowd because it'll roll you over. But they have cars out there and they mash them and run over them, and they have races, and they're quite the deal.
Speaking of Carter County, how about the Croatan lacrosse team winning the state championship?
Yeah, how about that? The only one from the region. I know North Lenore and South Lenore both had teams go. North Lenore for softball, South Lenore for baseball.
One of our good friends, Christopher Phillips' son, who plays lacrosse.
Plays on lacrosse. But those teams didn't win, but lacrosse won the state championship in lacrosse.
Yeah.
Lacrosse won. Croatan won the state championship in lacrosse. That was awesome. Yeah, to have one of our local teams, right within earshot here.
Have you ever seen one of them lacrosse balls?
I have.
It's harder than a rock.
It is.
It's harder than a golf ball.
And they catch it with that little basket, and they got to flip it back and forth to keep it in there. And it's a lot to it. It's a great sport to keep you in shape, and I'm hoping eventually all the Onslow County schools will get it. The bigger ones have it. But it'd be a great sport for football players in the spring to stay in shape.
Yep.
Because you're running a lot, and you're a little physical too. It's not like just soccer where you're just running.
Speaking of racing, we got a big horse race coming up Saturday.
Say we do?
The Belmont.
Who gonna win? You got your theory on that.
Well, I think it's going to be sort of a match race between Sovereignty, who won the Kentucky Derby, and Journalism, who won the Preakness.
So
I'm picking Journalism to win.
If you had a bet you could do where you could pick the top two, we've talked about it before, not in any order, but just the two that will finish first and second in any order, that would probably be the bet to go in with it.
Well, yeah.
Because you think those two are going to distance
anything can
themselves.
happen in horse racing,
Now, somebody said, too, that there's one horse in it this time that is not a descendant of Secretariat.
I don't know. I'm sure.
That's what I'd heard, that there'd be one horse in the Belmont. Like at
probably
the
more than that.
Kentucky Derby. No, Kentucky Derby, they were all descendants.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, every single one of them. And that was the biggest one.
Same thing with the Preakness.
Yeah. One more thing, touching bases on that Carteret County Speedway thing, the races that are going on this weekend. Our buddy Robert Drum, that was on the show one time before, he's been a great asset to me on some of the racing stuff we do, and I just want to give him a shout out. He's doing really good, man. He went from that car that you saw me get to race that one time. I don't know if I sent you the video. He let me race his car down at the Speedway one time.
Oh, really?
I did not get the speeds that I thought I would. I thought it'd be faster. I think there was a little extra weight in the car when I was there.
I'm sure it was.
Yeah, exactly. So I raced this car, and it's called a bomber. It's basically one of those
Yeah.
that looks like a bomb, But the car he's got now, man, he's moving up in the racing world. We might see him on the NASCAR circuit one day.
Good.
Old Robert's getting it done. He's winning some races, pretty car. So we want to support him, and we thank him for all his input he does on our racing report. And our racing report is sponsored by Onslow County Motor Company, where we had our remote last week. That was a lot of fun, wasn't it?
It was, man.
You got to be careful around Onslow County Motor Company what you get into, though, if you know what I mean.
What are you saying, Chris?
It's an inside joke for Hollywood.
Yeah,
be
thank
careful
you.
where you step now.
Look, I've had a rough week, man.
I know. And that's what started it off, I think.
It did.
It did.
I said the karma train ran over me. I don't know what I did in the
Man,
past.
he tore his phone up. Windshield got busted at the Osprey game.
Yeah,
with
we think a foul ball got him, a windshield busted.
Got sick. Got sick one day, man.
Sick, yeah.
Man, it's that one of them weeks like John Dutton had in the first episode of Yellowstone there. Bad week. But it'll get better.
It's beginning to get better. Yeah,
it's
feeling
getting
better.
better.
Things are getting better.
Well, it can only go up, right?
That's exactly right,
Well,
man.
I've said that before, and it didn't go up.
There's one thing I've learned to never say. It can't get any worse.
Because it
but
always
it
can. That's right.
Yeah, that's
and there's a couple expressions that go around. One is it's all good. Most times when somebody says it's all good, it ain't all good.
No.
Or it is what it is. That's another one. That's usually means there's
I learned another one
something's
from
skewed.
Kevin Motsinger a couple of weeks ago.
What'd he say?
He said, rules are just suggestions.
Yeah. Kind of like the
Pretty good.
pirate movie
Listen,
where there are more guidelines
That's
than rules.
actually Mosley's mantra.
Yeah.
Rules are just suggestions.
Suggestions,
That's-
guidelines.
What about it's easier to ask for forgiveness than it is permission?
Oh,
Man,
I
that's
use
true.
that all the time.
Oh, that's me.
I did 31
That
years
is
with the
true.
state with
Yeah.
that rule. If I knew something needed to be done the right way, just do it, and worst they can do is chew you out of
And if
it.
something happens, go, I didn't know that.
That leads to another saying. Let the hide go with the hair.
I ain't heard that one.
I haven't heard that one, man.
Okay,
Yeah.
What
we'll
does that
take
mean?
your word on
Yeah,
that.
what does that
one.
mean?
Yeah, explain,
Yeah,
Lucy.
explain that one.
Well, it's close to being scalped, I guess. Hide go with the hair.
okay.
yeah.
Okay. All right, we're going to take our last break. When we come back on Sports Talk, we'll have This Day in Sports History right here on Freedom 97.1 WSME. Hey, welcome back to Sports Talk. I'm your host, Chris Raynor. We got co-host Steve Goodson with us today. Howdy, Steve.
What's up?
Co-host Ashley Moseley. Howdy, Ashley.
How you doing, buddy?
And all this stuff we're getting ready to talk about this day in sports history, all this stuff happened on a June 6th at one time or another. But in American history, one of the most important things in our country's history, in my opinion, was one of the things that happened on June 6th, D-Day. The greatest generation ever. They're right before my generation. They're the ones that spawned us, my grandparents, and that greatest generation. They took it. They 17, 18 years old, signed up. They didn't go looking to get away from a fight. Steve, your dad, your grandfather, part of that. You know what I'm talking about. It just they were a different breed, weren't they?
Different dudes, man. They're just hard to the core, but yet compassionate. If that makes any sense, man. They're just different breed of folks, man.
And we just had Memorial Day a couple weeks ago, or Memorial Day weekend, and one of the best things I've seen from the thing is enjoy your weekend at the beach because they were not afraid to go on the beach. Something like that, you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Man, when you look at the movie Saving Private Ryan, and it's fairly accurate in what they say, so many died before they ever even got to the beach, just weren't afraid to go and seize that freedom back for the United States of America. And we're indebted to that greatest generation.
Great liberator.
So let's talk about a little sports stuff that's happened on June 6th over the years. You talked about the Belmont Stakes. Well, that's the leadoff here. But this one's way back in 1885. I didn't even know they'd been racing it that long. 1885, the Belmont Stakes. Patsy Duffy aboard Tyrant wins comfortably by 3 lengths from St. Augustine in the fast time of 2 minutes and 43 seconds. I think I got that time right, didn't I? 2 minutes, 43 seconds at the Belmont. And that'll be this weekend. The third leg of the Triple Crown. No Triple Crown this year.
Nope.
Because the way things worked out. All right, Steve, 1901.
1901 British Open men's golf. Muirfield Scotsman James Braid wins first of 5 Open titles by 3 strokes from Harry Vardon.
Now, Harry Vardon.
I've heard that name.
That's a name,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
Club guy, just a swing guy. He's just one of those legends in the golfing world. And when we had Curtis on, one of the questions that had popped in my mind, but then he got to talking about some of the stuff, and it popped out. He was talking about the U.S. Open coming up. Our national championship, what you call it,
Right.
our Open. Yet they call the British Open the Open. Is that a little presumptuous on their part to call it the Open?
Well, it probably. I'm assuming this is making an assumption. I'm assuming they've been playing it longer.
Oh, yeah.
Than the U.S. Open. But I mean, that's kind of like Curtis made a point about somebody saying, "I'm the greatest. I'm the greatest."
Yeah.
If you have to infer the Open, kind of like the Ohio State University, when people have to say that,
That's true.
You kind of have to infer that. So
Yeah, then that means you might be a little more full of yourself.
And I'm sure Curtis didn't mention this, but he won the U.S. Open back-to-back 1988.
We mentioned that before.
we mentioned- yeah,
before
okay,
we came in.
cool. Yeah,
we
we
had
mentioned-
we had done some research. Steve
man.
come in with some stuff, and I'd actually done a little research today. Believe it or not. He won. It was on. I only saw where there was 3: Koepka, him, and Hogan. But he said there was a couple.
He
others
said it
that
was
did
5.
but
I didn't
see that
yeah.
anywhere. But I think he's just trying to deflect from his accomplishment. That's a great accomplishment. Went back to back. And you got the next
Especially
one,
that
Ashley.
golf tournament.
Oh yeah, it's a U.S. Open question. The next one, or a thingy there.
1924 U.S. Open men's golf at Oakland Hills Country Club. Unknown Englishman Cyril Walker wins his only major title, 3 strokes ahead of runner-up and defending champion, who was an amateur, by the way, Bobby Jones.
And that might be a bigger accomplishment than winning the U.S. Open to beat Bobby Jones one-on-one like that. Bobby Jones, that was one of the iconic names in golf, too. All right, I'm going to give this next one a shot. In 1932, Legischer Mir Vorgis soccer team formed in Spankenburg. That sounds made up. Hollywood, you sure you didn't throw a ringer in here?
Do you think I made that whole thing
Have
up?
you been to
Spankenburg.
Walton? Have you been to Walton's Distillery this morning already?
No.
Okay.
I did not make this
You
up.
pronounce,
you
you
slurred.
pronounce listen Vogels. Okay.
I promise
there you
I
go.
didn't make that up. I promise.
All right.
If he did, he's got a warped mind if he made that up. 1944, World War II, we just talked about this. All Major League Baseball games are canceled in honor of D-Day landing in northern France.
And for
I'm not
long-
advocating continuation of war, but I do think all baseball games should be canceled.
Okay.
Major League Baseball games. Should be canceled.
So we're getting ready to jet from here and head up to Chapel Hill.
Yep.
We're
we
gonna
are.
get there. Might get there a little late, but this show is that important to us. We're going to the
Super regional.
Carolina's
Carolina,
hosting
Arizona.
And we're gonna
tomorrow.
talk. And we'll get through this. That's gonna be our subject. The rest of the show, probably. So we'll talk about that. All right, Ashley, back to you now. 1946.
1946, the Basketball Association of America is formed in New York City.
Do you know why they changed it to the NBA? Because everybody was saying bat, bat.
It was bad.
It was bad. No, I'm sorry. In 1969, Joe Namath resigns from the NFL after Pete Rozelle, football commissioner, said he must sell his stake in a bar.
He pulled a power play on him, didn't he?
I don't understand.
I don't understand.
I don't understand resign either. I mean, he just didn't retire. I mean, why didn't he retire?
I don't know.
He didn't do either one of
Did
them.
he
Ended
come
up
back
playing.
after that, though?
Yeah, he came
he
back and
played.
played. He played for the Rams. Yeah.
Because I knew, yeah, that's right, he did.
He just signed a $400,000 contract.
And it just won, coming off the Super Bowl in what was it, 68 or so, somewhere along in there?
69.
The one where at the time their league was considered so much lesser.
I thought he resigned because people made fun of him for wearing that fur coat that he used to wear
And pantyhose.
and pantyhose. Yeah.
I tell you one thing, buddy. He has stretched his brand for years, hasn't he?
Oh,
He
gosh, yeah.
has. Just a few years ago, he had a legendary interview on camera where he
Kissed that girl.
He had been at the Walton's
Yeah,
distillery.
he sure did.
I said,
Susie Colbert.
I'm gonna kiss your show, Britt. Bless his heart.
So I got 1971. Willie Mays hits record 22nd and last extra inning home run. And I just want to say for the record, is this set up or I'm getting all the baseball things? I think it is. But
No, you'll get a French Open in a minute.
Okay.
All right.
1976, the 30th NBA championship. The Boston Celtics beat the Phoenix Suns 4-2.
Actually, I lied. I miscounted. You are gonna get.
I know. I know. I was.
I'll get. You want to do the French Open?
No,
Okay.
no, that's all right.
In 1987, the French Open, women's tennis, 17-year-old German Steffi Graf. She was tough, buddy. At her time, she was the Tiger Woods at one time of tennis. Beats world number one Martina Navratilova.
Martina
Oh, I'm sorry, Martina
I should've done
Navratilova.
that.
6-4, 4-6, 8-6, and it was Graf's first Grand Slam victory. First of many, actually.
And who was Steffi Graf married to at one time? I think she's still married to him.
Was it? Who was it?
He had the best looking hair ever. Andre Agassi.
Andre Agassi.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah. At one point, I don't know if they're still married or
He
not.
had
but-
Bon Jovi like hair.
Yeah, he did have Bon Jovi like hair. 1987, another baseball thing. The New York Yankees played their 13,000th game.
Wouldn't you hate to be the fool that had to go back and count all those up?
Gosh.
You know, Greg Norman was married to Chrissy Everett for 1 year.
Oh, there's been a lot of those. The ones like who was the one married to? Was it Billy Joel married to?
Chrissy Brinkley.
Yeah,
Christy
Christy
Brinkley.
Brinkley. I don't think they are anymore though.
What we got going on now?
Oh, you got the last one, the French Open.
Okay. 2015 French Open women's tennis. Serena Williams wins her third French title and 20th Grand Slam singles event, beating Lucy Sarafova of the Czech Republic 6-3, 6-7, 6-2.
And Serena's probably considered the master of the clay court. Wouldn't you say? I think she won more French Open titles than anybody else.
Now, who's the GOAT in women's tennis? Do you think she is?
Serena's right up there. Martina's right up there.
Yeah.
With, if you want to question. Yeah, anyway, Martina's up there.
Billie Jean King.
I don't know as far as GOAT wise. She was one of the first ones. One of my favorites was Chris Everett,
Margaret
but I don't think
Court.
she's considered in the running. Yeah, and but that was back when they had the skirts and the long skirts and the wooden rackets and
Yeah.
That was a few days ago. I would say probably between Serena and would you say that? Serena and Martina?
Yeah, I would say
Between those two.
probably, that's the sort of thing. Again, the interview with Curtis was great. He brought up a great point. Technology a little bit in tennis has changed, like the rackets,
Right.
but you're hitting the balls in general are the same. The court's the same size, so it's easy. It's a little easier to compare players of different eras. Martina Navratilova, I don't know, but at one point in time, there was always some question about potentially her being on steroids,
hormones.
hormones and stuff like that. Not saying saying that that's the case, but I just think that I think her or Serena probably would be considered the top two. Of course, I don't really keep up with tennis now, men's or women's tennis now. I'm sure there's probably some really good players now.
There's just aren't those Americans in it now that make you want to tune in and watch. You're talking about the interview with Curtis and him talking about the difference between tennis and golf. One of the best things about being a golfer over being a tennis player is, say I'm going to travel to Florida and I'm a tennis player. I'm going to go to the big tennis center there at the resort and everything, and I'm going to play tennis. It's the same court as I'm playing out at Onzo Pines.
Yeah.
Say I'm going to play golf, and I want to try TPC Sawgrass. It is way different than any course you've ever played. Every golf course has something, some little difference, some little subtlety that's different. You know what I mean?
I have never seen an ugly golf course.
That's true. I've seen some that were...
Well, I was ugly.
They
on
weren't
them
pretty, but
sometimes.
they weren't ugly, Steve probably remembers this. Remember Duck Haven down in Wilmington?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it was
Closed up, isn't
it is. Oh, it's apartments now, but at the time when I was down there, it was $6 all day long with a student ID with a card. You couldn't beat it. That was our basic golf we played.
Well, at Aden, when I was going to school in East Carolina, you could play for $2 if you were a student, and you could own your own golf cart there.
Yeah.
And if you rode with a member that owned his own golf cart, you could ride for $250.
Really?
And people go, well, why don't you go ahead and
beat
join
that.
the golf course? For what?
Yeah.
$4 and a half, play all day long.
Take firsthand advice. If you don't want to be a member and pay those high rates, just go to the course. They'll get you a little job doing something there for a day or two a week. You play
There
free
you
golf.
go. You got to figure it out.
Gotta
as you
find
go.
that racket. All right. Well, thank you, you guys, for participating in our This Day in Sports History, June 6th. We're going to jump right into have you already pulled up the NCAA tournament, Steve? No, I can pull it up.
Yeah,
We're
I
going
got
to go
it.
through region by region and see who we think is going to win.
Okay.
First of all, the seeding process. They seed them 1 through 16 for hosting the original regionals, correct?
Yeah, for the hosting there, and by reference, let me tell you this: everybody, pretty much, if you've ever heard me talk, knows my stance on Major League Baseball. I do not like Major League Baseball.
Say you don't.
I don't, but I really enjoy college baseball.
Okay.
We're gonna enjoy some today.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
I mean, I just think college baseball is just amazing. That I mean, the way the kids just, I mean, I don't know, man. I really enjoy college baseball.
And if you haven't gone to a college baseball game, Steve has an opportunity for you. Tomorrow, Saturday, you got 2 tickets available, $20 each, right?
Yeah, so I got tickets for the Super Regional that Carolina's hosting, playing Arizona. You and I are going to leave right after this show and go today up there and watch today's game. But I've got some stuff going on tomorrow. You got some stuff going on tomorrow, and so we're not going to be able to go.
It's a noon game, and if you can use them $20 each, that's face value.
That's exactly what I paid for 'em.
They're going for $100 to $200 online.
Are they really?
Yes, on
Okay,
the
well
resale.
then they're $200. No, I'm just messing. No. I just look again.
Do you want to give them a number or anything, or just if they know you, call you?
Yeah, if you're listening, call me. You see me on Facebook, you can DM me or whatever. But
He can transfer them digitally, so it's easy to do.
I can send them to whomever. Like I said, I'm not looking to make any money, dude. I'm just looking to I got them through Rams Club, the Educational Foundation, and
good seats, too.
can't go tomorrow. And then if it's the best of 3. So if they split today and tomorrow, there'll be a Sunday game. I'm not going to go up Sunday either. So
I might be able to help you with Sunday.
okay,
We'll
talk
work
about
on
it.
that.
All right, we'll work on
But
that.
let's talk about the regionals. And here was my question about the seeding process. Every sport now has seeding issues. You always have, in March Madness, you have the people you think are left out. In football, even though they've expanded, you still have some that are questioning whether who's going to be what or who's the top 4. Well, in baseball, they seeded them 1 through 16. Carolina was the number 1 team in the country in the polls and got a 5 seed.
Got the 5 seed. Well,
So that was weird to start with.
Yeah, they had already determined at that point in time the seeds. I mean, just like basketball polls and stuff like I would say football polls, but that's really not true with football polls.
Yeah.
But just like with basketball polls, it's all about I don't know that poll that made Carolina the number 1 seed. Was that a coach's poll or was that some sort of a college?
It was that they have that one writers poll. That's the main one. It's not like AP and UPI used to be or whatever.
Yeah, so it wasn't the NCAA poll.
No. But here's the biggest question, though. So the NCAA does seed them 1 through 16,
Okay.
and they host regionals.
Yep.
Well, going to the super regionals, it was a bloodbath. A lot of the number 1 seeds didn't make it out of the
Yeah.
regionals. So you got teams like You got Coastal Carolina was a 13 seed. They're playing their super regional at Auburn, who's the number 4 seed. But then you got Miami and Louisville playing each other. And neither one of them were the top 16 seed.
Neither one was a top
Same thing
16
with Duke.
seed. Duke is hosting Murray State.
And they weren't a top 16 seed.
No, Texas, San Antonio upset Texas, who was the number 2 seed.
Yeah.
And they're going to UCLA. So yeah, it's
weird.
And that's the one reason I guess I don't. That's one reason I don't like baseball. You play in major leagues. You play 162 games. You can lose 62 games. You can lose 62 games and still be a world champion. You can win 100 games. I mean, think about it. You can lose 62 games and still be considered good.
Well, right now the Colorado Rockies are 9
Yeah,
and 50 something.
yeah, they're on
That is
pace to be
crazy. They're on
horrible.
pace to be the horriblest ever.
Yeah.
Scotty Scheffler won more times in the month of May than the Colorado
Yeah,
Rockies did. And
I'm
they
just-
play every day.
But I mean,
That's crazy, isn't it?
baseball's just college baseball, and again, you're going to see it in basketball. You're going to see it in football. You're going to see it in baseball. Any college athletic sport, you're going to see it in. This NIL and transfer portal are making these teams. This Murray State team, they had a lot of NIL transfer guys that were sitting the bench at bigger schools and had a chance to transfer and come in and play immediately. And the women's college World Series is a great example. I don't know if you guys watched women's college softball. It's
fast,
I actually enjoy it more than college baseball. But Texas Tech they lost last night 2-1 to Texas, best out of 3. But Texas Tech has always been a middle of the road average team. They signed a lady from Stanford University, the best pitcher in college baseball last year. Her name's Nahija. Softball.
Okay.
And all of a sudden they're good.
NIL deal, $1 million.
softball?
She went to Texas Tech, and now Texas Tech is playing in the College World Championship. And the thing about softball is, because of the throwing motion, those pitchers can pitch every day. They can pitch every.
It's fascinating to me to watch them pitch.
The way that they come from the guy that's pitching for Carolina today, Knapp. He's going to pitch today, and if they go to a third game, he could come in. But the pitchers have to, because of the way they release the ball. He's got to have 2 or 3, 4
They
days
got pitch
rest.
counts on now too.
In college softball, you can have one good pitcher, and she could throw a billion pitches and pitch every
They get
every
that
single day.
The speeds up to 75, 80 miles an hour or anything like that.
Yeah, well, that's what it is from the softball. If you equate it and you translate it to if she was pitching a baseball from the distance, they're throwing 100 miles an hour.
Oh yeah, the equivalent.
Yeah, it's the equivalent.
And
of
that
100
helps
miles
us
an hour.
transition to the point you made about the Minnesota State high school softball championships. They had a player pitch 14 innings, 2 games, 2 7-inning games, back to back, both of them shutouts, same pitcher. But that pitcher's 6'1" and started out as a boy. How about that?
As a what?
A boy, transgender.
Oh.
So how I thought all that stuff was done away. I guess
Well, you keep
the
bringing it
individual
up.
states. Well, that needs to be addressed. The fact that a man can go up there
Addressed,
and strike out. Yeah, not wearing a dress. Can strike out a 6'1" man can go out there and strike out all these girls and win the state championship. I'm sorry. I think
don't
that's
blame
wrong.
you.
That's
It's,
wrong.
it's, to me, what is wrong with people, man?
I agree. It should be common sense. But we're going to get back to the College World Series. You got Arizona and North Carolina kicking off today. Miami and Louisville. That's another one where it was two teams that were not seeded, but yet one of them's hosting. Now, the biggest one, the biggest loser was Florida State, a number 9 seed.
Yep.
And even though there was teams that weren't seeded, Florida State's on the road, got to go to Oregon State and play.
And
So that's
Texas
just
is
weird.
out of it now, right?
Texas is out of it.
Texas is out of it. Yeah, SEC, great regular season, but they flopped a little bit in the tournament regionals. They lost. There was 2 or 3. I can't recall, but there were 2 or 3 top seeds. Vanderbilt, the number 1 overall
Yeah,
seed,
they lost.
lost.
Is
And,
East Carolina still in it?
East Carolina lost to
They lost down to Coastal.
to Coastal Carolina.
okay.
But interestingly enough, East Carolina beat Florida, who was a lot of people thought Florida would win that regional, even though it was at Coastal. East Carolina beat them twice.
Yep.
Beat Florida twice, but they couldn't beat Coastal. There was an incident. You heard about the incident with the Florida coach.
Yeah.
The Florida baseball coach showed his booty now. It's all on video. and it was a good friend of mine, Coach Mark Scaff from UNCW,
Right.
the former baseball coach down there. He was the site rep down there because he's a retired coach, so they get these guys to run the sites. And Coach Scaff is reserved as they are, and how he held his composure, I don't know, but that coach was a jerk.
From
And,
Florida?
Yeah, Florida's issued statements and apologizing and all that. But there's so many people had it on video. The East Carolina fans, because that's who they were playing, got a lot of videos of it. It just was unreal. The F word every third word to these people trying to run the program down there and stuff. And he was upset because of the way the rain delays played out. He didn't like the time they were playing, but man, you got to play. When it rains, you got to reschedule. And anyway, just a jerk. But you got Coastal Carolina is still in it, by the way, but they have to go to Auburn, even though Coastal Carolina was a 13 seed.
Yep.
So I thought they should have got a super regional too, them and Florida State. But as it occurs, there's going to be another super regional going on Saturday right down the road from Carolina.
Yeah.
Duke's hosting one.
Duke's gonna host
So
one.
the Triangle's going to be busy this weekend with those two baseball super regionals going on. Who do you see winning it overall? I honestly think North Carolina has as good a shot as anybody.
Well, with the upsets that have occurred now, Carolina has as good a shot of winning it as anybody. Even though they're a 14 seed, Tennessee,
They're still good.
The
yeah.
super regional between Tennessee and Arkansas is going to be a real good regional. That's two SEC schools. That's going to be a really good.
That's going to be a Donnie
super
right
regional.
there.
Yeah, that's going to be a really good super regional. Again, you're going to have 8 teams. Out of these super regionals, you're going to have some folks that are getting bonus baseball because they really did not think they would be playing. West Virginia's got a pretty good team. They've got a tough matchup with LSU, but they've got a pretty good team. But I think if Carolina can get by Arizona had an offensive outburst in their region and hit just a ton of home runs. If they come in and their bats are a little bit slow, Carolina's got some good pitching, man. Carolina's got as good a pitching as they've had. So my prediction is that the Hills are going to make it to the super regional, and based on that, we would probably be. Because we're the 5th seed, there's probably 2 seeds, 1 or 2 teams, but we'll be the 3rd seed, basically 2nd or 3rd seed going into Omaha.
How many total teams are still in it?
There's 16
16.
playing into super regional,
8 super
and
regionals.
then
Okay.
8 super regionals, and then the 8 winners of those of the best out of 3 go to Omaha.
And I'll tell you who they are actually right here. You got Arizona at North Carolina, Miami at Louisville, Florida State at Oregon State, Coastal Carolina at Auburn, Murray State at Duke, West Virginia at LSU, and what's the other one? Tennessee at Arkansas, and then UTSA, Texas
University
San
of
Antonio.
Texas San Antonio.
Florida State and
UCLA.
Oregon State.
That'd be
They got
another
to
good
fly
bracket.
way out there and play baseball.
Yeah,
Yep.
and they were a 9 seed. They should be hosting a regional if it goes out the way it should have.
How about Carolina State not playing
I'd
football?
love to see
each
Coastal
other?
go back in there and play. Yeah, I don't know, Steve. You probably know more about that. What was the reasoning for that?
I have no clue. The only thing that I can figure is that you not playing football,
Basketball.
basketball,
Well,
yeah,
basketball back.
yeah. They're not going to have the home and home. The only thing that I can figure is that with the addition of those three new teams in the ACC, that's kind of screwed up. The scheduling and stuff.
But there should have
like
been
that.
some cast in stone. Now let me ask you this.
Well, Carolina. So the Carolina and Duke will always play twice. That's
Right, but I think Carolina State should be playing twice.
I personally agree with you.
Is it possible for them to go in and say, well, they've got us playing at Lenovo Center at State this year. Let's play you non-conference.
They
at
could
Carolina.
do that.
That's what I would do.
They could do that. Carolina. Well, I say they could. I don't know what they could do, but
I don't think there's anything that would keep them.
Remember,
Carolina did that one year. Carolina did that in 2 or 3 years ago, or maybe last year, 2 or 3 years, or whatever, with Wake Forest.
Yeah.
in football. They played them non-conference.
That's right.
They were on the schedule, and they played Wake Forest in a non-conference game in football, and everyone was, and so it didn't count towards, towards the, everything. But it's been done in football.
rules or just suggestions until it comes to the FCC.
Or as they say in the Pirates of the Caribbean, they're more like guidelines really than rules.
You got that, yeah.
All right, you guys got anything else you want to talk about before we go?
No, I got a bowl, man. My wife's birthday was yesterday on Thursday, June 5th. And I've got to, before you and I head out of town, I've got to see her.
Take care of some birthday stuff.
before we go. And
Well, if you need to go ahead, I'm gonna let Ashley do our sponsors, and we're gonna wind up though, because you do our sponsors so much better than I do.
Okay.
You know them. You know
Thanks,
these.
guys.
You know these people. Thank you, Steve. We'll see you probably next week too.
Have fun, buddy.
I'll see you.
I'll be over there shortly, and we'll head out.
Okay, Sports Talk is brought to you by the following fine sponsors: National Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, Ram, the Jacksonville Ospreys, CNS Paint, Ron Shook and Victor Case, big baseball guy there, Golden Corral, Billy Sewell, with locations Marine Boulevard, Jacksonville, Greenville Boulevard in Greenville, Rock Creek Golf and Country Club, Ricky Morton, again, these being the Jacksonville Onslow Sports Hall of Fame.
A very deserving
Right.
candidate there.
Jones Onslow EMC, your Touchstone Energy Cooperative. Jones LP Gas, located in the heart of Verona, which reminds me to talk about today. You can get your gas cylinder filled for $11 till closing time at 5 o'clock. Southern Touch Painting, Roger Carroll and the crew over there. Fountain Management, thank you, Sandra and Lisa. Onslow County Motor Company, Ben Beasley, Terry, Travis Jack Thornton, Dave, and Brandon, thanks so much. Barnes Diamond Gallery, don't forget we got Father's Day come up. Go by and see Lindsey Jarman. Lane Associates Family Dentistry, Doctors Tommy and Kim Morgan. Barton Insurance Services, Bill Mercer, Drew Mercer, and Tommy Duff, and the folks over at Hunt for Heating and Air Conditioning. Thank you. And thanks to Helen's Kitchen. And Billy Grissom for feeding the Sports Talk Show and guest. And Chris Hollywood Man. Hurricane Watch is powered by Down East Heating and Air. Jason Humphrey, and we'll be talking about Osprey report a little bit later on about that. And once again, the Racing Report is powered by Onslow County Motor Company.
And speaking of the Ospreys, they're a sponsor with us too during their playing days. But man, they've off to a hot start, man.
They are.
First night,
Undefeated,
first night you guys were out there 14-4. You were good luck for them.
Yeah.
They put up 2 touchdowns on the scoreboard.
They did.
Won 7-2 their next game. One on the next game against the Lejeune War Dogs. It's more of a club type team that they play more of as a promotion or an exhibition. And then won games on the road in the league. Going to have a little trouble with some of the rain coming in. Probably getting some of the games in this week. They'll be back home Saturday night, June 7th. They're at the Osprey Nest, 7 p.m. first pitch. So that'll be a great game to go watch and check out your hometown team. And I want to thank you, Ashley, for being with us. Thank, of course, Steve Goodson for being co-host also. And, of course, Curtis Strange. Thank you once again for calling in and promoting that very worthy charity there, the Morehead City Hospice House. You can probably look it up that way. If I'm going to post it later too, but if you're interested right now before I get it posted, look up Morehead City Hospice House Golf Tournament, and it'll pop right up. And they've got promotional deals where you can sponsor holes and help the cause out. You might can still get a team in it, And unless you got anything else, we're good to go.
We got to wish Hollywood Man a good weekend. Hope things are getting better for him. He tore his phone up, and then he got bombed at the Osprey game the other night. The windshield got knocked out by
We were
foul.
sitting
He had a
there.
rough time.
Oh, man.
Sitting there on
Rain
the press
delay.
porch, and you'd hear the ball go back there, and you hear and you listen, you don't hear nothing. Then all of a sudden, we heard 2 pretty good
Bang.
crunches, and I think he was one crunch.
Probably would.
Yeah.
It
But he'll get
Good.
that fixed. Good insurance deductible there.
Yeah, man, it's all good. It's
All right.
all good.
Y'all take care. Have a good week. We'll see you next week on Sports Talk.